Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bed Tech Show. We are your hosts, Ben and Ethan, and we're here to share some exciting tech news here at bedtime. We appreciate everyone's support. So, with that, let's go ahead and dive right into our first article. Looks like Ryan Reynolds just scored a big deal here with the recent acquisition of Mint Mobile by T-Mobile. They have proposed a deal to acquire Mint Mobile for $1.35 billion. As of right now, T-Mobile is the second largest wireless provider, which was news to me. I had no idea they were the second. So go T-Mobile. And they've got several subsidiaries, and now Mint Mobile is going to be one of their subsidiaries. Ryan Reynolds has been is an owner of Mint Mobile and been kind of the face of Mint Mobile in a lot of their marketing. And, with his sunny disposition, gotten a lot of goodwill with Mint Mobile and such that T-Mobile is looking to acquire them for a big deal, which would give quite a bit of competitive advantage for T-Mobile and boost their infrastructure. So I think this is pretty interesting stuff here. Ben, what are your thoughts with what you think this has means for the future in regards to smaller telecom companies being acquired by these larger telecom companies?
Yeah, I don't know if it's anything really new of like a smaller telecom company being acquired. Um, I think that's happened in the past historically. I think what's interesting about this is that this is coming from a celebrity, right? It's
Oh
like
yeah.
celebrity advertised, celebrity owned business. That's I think what's really interesting, and I think that'll pave the way for now celebrities. We've seen it happen before with a couple celebrities creating businesses and then being valued at a lot more than what their previous valuation was for just being an actor, actress, whatever it might be. We see that with the Kardashians, right?
Yes.
They start their own businesses and just because of their brand and their hype. We see that with The Rock. He started a few businesses, I think like an alcohol business, and a couple other ones. And because he has this brand, um, this hype around him, the brand becomes so valuable.
Mhm.
And um, Ryan Reynolds did this obviously with Mint Mobile. Done it before with a different company apparently, and made a few hundred million off that. So I think celebrities are going to be broadening their um, their interests and what they spend their time in. At least they should after seeing this, because this is big money. This is big
Yeah.
money. It's not just, you know, uh, tens millions or 100 million. This is we're talking billion, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy. And personally, I think it's really cool that Ryan Reynolds did it, but um, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just going to pave the way for more celebrities to start thinking strategically about businesses and leveraging their brand more. So that's my thought. I don't know. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about T-Mobile taking over even as the second and now acquiring Mint?
I think this is going to be a really good competitive advantage for T-Mobile.
Oh,
And
I think I might have lost you on audio.
oh,
Did I lose you on audio? Hold on. I might have muted him. Nope, that's just me. Sorry.
okay. I think it's going to be a really good way for T-Mobile to have a greater market share and really try and take on Verizon.
Yeah.
From my point of view, I've seen it for like the last 10 or so years. T-Mobile has done a lot with their infrastructure to build it up and done a lot with the goodwill of their customers to gain a great market share. However, it's never really been enough to tip them over the edge to gain a greater market share than Verizon. And I think with this is going to help them start to move in that direction for where they might be a bigger competitor to Verizon than they have in the past. And I would love to see more competitiveness within this realm. I mean, Verizon, in my opinion, I think right now they have that kind of stance. Like they're the biggest, they're the best, and everybody knows it. So they don't have any incentive to have lower prices.
Yeah, I agree.
And that really agitates me being a Verizon customer. And since I live in Narnia, having Verizon is kind of a necessity over any other carrier. And so, with that, it bothers me that I have to pay so much for something that could be better.
Yeah.
And I would love to use another service if that were an option. However, unfortunately, right now it's not. And maybe with this acquisition, it might expand their infrastructure in such a way that it could be an option for those that are in rural areas of the United States.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. So I used to be on Verizon when we were living in California because my company was paying for my phone bill. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna get the best. And at the time, it was like Verizon, AT&T, and then way below was like T-Mobile and Sprint.
Mhm.
And about 3 years ago, we moved, and now I'm on T-Mobile, and I have been on T-Mobile, and like you said, they've done a pretty phenomenal job of trying to win consumers and customers over with their deals, their give backs. They do like Thankful Tuesday or T-Mobile Tuesday, where they give you stuff like you get like a free Auntie Anne's pretzel, or
Yeah.
like a free DVD rental, stuff like that, or like $5 movie tickets. For a lot of people, that's pretty big. Like
Mhm.
we have a theater where we can get $5 movie tickets 2 or 3 days out of the week, but for some people, like at least for us when we were back in California, movie tickets are like 15, maybe even $20. So yeah, T-Mobile's done a phenomenal job to really move up. They combined with Sprint. That was massive. They did that
Yes.
like a year and a half ago. So it would be nice to see someone actually start to compete with Verizon, where Verizon's like, maybe we should start to evaluate ourselves and see where we can improve and compete, because we might actually lose out to these guys. So yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah. I I agree with that. And you know, as this, it's going to be interesting to see whether this has any effect on the trend towards more consolidation in the industry. I think this is kind of just the tipping point of that, and we might see more consolidation as these smaller companies just get acquired by the larger ones that we have in the telecom industry.
Yeah. hmm I think what we need to be careful for is like, because there's really only three players now in the United States. It's Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T. I think what there needs to be caution is if um if acquisition continues to happen, and then potentially there's agreements across the board to with these three companies who own the market to set prices, right? Competitive
Yeah.
prices with each other, and they set them high, right? Um, and I feel like we see that a lot with gasoline. And I don't know the ins and outs of the economics of gasoline, right? But I can only imagine that the price of gasoline, when it goes astronomically high for some reason, it's almost as if everyone understands it, jack up the prices, even though the cost of like a barrel may not have gone up significantly. I've just seen inconsistent trends where um, the cost of gas goes up, even though the cost of the barrel doesn't go up, and it's across the board by all suppliers. And it's like there seems to be some kind of like scheming going on here, where they're all
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, let's it's summertime, a lot of people are traveling. Let's jack up the prices and let's just all make more money. What do you guys think about that?" Yeah, sounds good. That's what I worry about with like any kind of market where there's less than three players,
Yeah.
because they can absolutely do whatever they want. It's close as you can get to a monopoly, right?
Yeah.
Um, that's the only thing that I would worry about. Hopefully, it doesn't come to that. But yeah, it's the only thing that I would be nervous about. I'm not yet though. So
Yeah. That does bring a lot of potential for that to come up and potential to have that lack of innovation and even lack of competitiveness as
Yeah.
well. So it'll be interesting to see if this trend continues. If it does, it could potentially get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I think what it's called when there's only like a few players is an oligopoly,
Yes.
right? Where it's like there's only a few and they just control the market or dominate the market. But I think you're right in the sense that I think T-Mobile and Verizon are very competitive with each other. At least T-Mobile's marketing campaign in the past few years has been the uncarrier, right? And
Yes.
they want to like eliminate Verizon. They want to just take everyone away from Verizon. So that's reassuring.
Yes. I agree. Speaking of things that may not be reassuring, Meta is launching a new subscription service in the United States. So looks like they too are getting into the subscription as a service, and it's just continuing on that trend that we've seen here within the last decade or so. You want to
Yeah.
break this one down for us?
Yeah. So essentially, if you want to be verified for Facebook and Instagram, you can now pay a monthly subscription. The Meta service will give users the blue badge. And you can see here, it'll verify their accounts using government ID. It'll cost $12 a month essentially on the web, $15 a month on Apple's iOS system and Google Android. So like on your phone. And the funny thing about this is like Elon Musk got a ton of heat for coming up with this revenue stream for people.
Yes.
And a lot of people didn't like it. They're like, well, then fake accounts can just pay to be fake. And there's a lot of, feedback and backlash. And it's funny now that we're seeing other software companies take this on and adopt it. It's almost like any opportunity to get more money out of the consumer, people are jumping on the bandwagon and just doing it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think it's really a good idea. It kind of eliminates the purpose of verification. Maybe not with the government ID, but it truly does. I mean, before it was somewhat of a status, you had to have a certain following and, influence on consumers or the market. And now it's even more so of a status. It's like, I am better than you because I can pay monthly
Right.
to have this. I don't like that. I don't
Yeah.
like more classes, more elitism. So, and it's kind of money hungry in my opinion. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts around this? Or
I
tell me
agree
what you
with that.
think.
I agree with that too. I think, this is building on a trend that other companies have done before. I mean, we've seen it a lot. We saw it with Twitter, the backlash that it came. And then now that I feel that because Twitter initially did that, it's kind of signaled to the other players in the industry, oh, just because they did it, now we can get into that and it's going to be okay because now consumers are used to this idea
Mm.
and might be more willing to accept
Ooh.
it. Because in my opinion, we've seen this with Apple. They tend to do this with all of their products all the time. For instance, taking away the headphone jack on the
Mm.
iPhone was such a controversial move.
Yeah.
And now that they've done it, everybody's done it.
Yeah.
And uh, the headphone jack is really becoming an archaic port on modern devices now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And or the fact that iPhone um, raised the price of their phone to $1,000, and everyone thought that that was such an astronomical price for a phone. And now we've seen other companies follow suit, and they're
Yeah.
doing the same, if not offering phones for a higher price.
Yeah.
So I think Meta has done this very strategically in a way that they're kind of going off of that bandwagon of Twitter Twitter kind of soured the waters enough so that it's numbed everybody to this idea. And people may be more willing to accept this than they were a few months ago with Twitter.
Yeah, the consumer shock is gone.
Yes.
That's a good point that you made. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, smart. Yeah, it's really smart.
Because I mean, to be honest with me, when I saw this, I I wasn't too surprised with this
Really?
move. Yeah. I mean, I was like, I don't think this is a great idea by any means. However, unfortunately, I wasn't surprised by it now.
Huh. Interesting. I was surprised. I think I was surprised because of the backlash Twitter got for it. And my thought is,
Yeah.
why would Meta follow suit when there was so much negative PR around it? And I think to your point, they're not going to get that negative PR because people are just thinking, it's we've seen this before. You guys are hungry, money hungry capitalists,
Mhm.
whatever. It is what it is now,
Yeah.
I think you bring up a good point that shock is gone.
Yeah. So, what effect do you think this is going to have on for traditional media outlets and their ability to compete with social media platforms for revenue?
So let me make sure I understand. You're asking, what is this going to do to other media outlets that normally get eyes and views, and so they can sell advertising, but now it's shifting to social media? Is that right?
Yeah, and it's shifting to this pay to pay to play type of model. What do you think this is going to do to other social media outlets?
Mm. I think the big tech companies are going to follow suit. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Snap does it. Um, I don't think TikTok will, because TikTok doesn't play that game. I don't. I mean, TikTok's
Not yet.
Chinese.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. But I don't. I think TikTok is finding value in other ways, like for
Yes, they
data,
are.
and so they're like, we don't really need your money. We just want to know what you guys are doing so we can plan things around the U.S. Um, but at the same time, I do think for the American companies, it's just this will become the norm, and I don't think news outlets. I don't think news outlets will follow suit because I don't think. I mean, Wall Street Journal offers like pay to read, but
Mhm.
they're so reputable that they can. I don't think other news outlets have as much pull to really charge users to consume their content and be a part of their um, their ecosystem. Like, for example, if Fox News would put articles behind a paywall or anything behind a paywall, I don't think people are going to play that game. They're just going to be like, I'm just going to Google the topic and find a million other articles about it.
Right.
Um, I think what's interesting about social media is it's so unique and versatile for the consumer that they can just get whatever they want, and it has so much of what they want, and it's insanely digestible content that's entertaining or educational, and as a result people want that,
Yeah.
and so they want the ease and the convenience, and so they're willing to be a part of that. Now if they want status, now they have to pay for it.
Mhm.
um yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but I think all the social media platforms are going to follow suit here.
I agree with that. You brought up some good points. I think this is going to lead to all the major players in social media going forward with this, and they're going to be moving to this pay to be verified type of model.
Oh
And
yeah.
as unfortunate as it is, it's just going to be the norm, and then now consumers are going to have to pay for it.
And honestly, I kind of feel like this reminds me a little bit of Fortnite. Okay. And the
Yes.
reason why I say that is because Fortnite is free to play. But no one wants to play Fortnite with a bot skin, bro. Everyone wants the sick skins, the collaboration skins, the Marvel, like the John Wick skin. They want the
Yes.
Naruto skin. Everyone wants the status skins, right? So what
Yes.
do? They talk to mom, they get $15, they pay for the skin. That's gonna be the same thing, bro. Kids
I
in high
know.
school are gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, Johnny, you're verified?" It'd be like, "Yeah, what's up, Sally? I'm verified. Yeah, I pay $15 a month." It's like, oh my god, that's what's gonna happen,
I know.
and it's like parents are gonna be suffering for this.
Yes.
That's what it reminds me of right now. I think it cheapens, in a way, it cheapens the verification because anyone can buy it, and people who are shallow really care about those things, and they're going to be paying for it.
It kind of
But
dilutes the value a little bit.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. Yep. Dilutes the value. Yep. It's not as rare. It's just like, as long as you got $15, you can throw it up there.
Yeah. Guess if they really wanted to be rare, they'd have to charge like 50. That would just be outrageous.
Yeah. Or combine the qualifications. You have to have X amount of followers, go under review, and pay us
And
money.
pay. Yes.
But from what it sounds like, it's
just a pay to play.
yeah. Yep.
So
So that's what it kind
yeah.
of reminds me. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. This is an unfortunate model, and I think it's going to be the new normal as we move into this, because now I think Meta is going to have greater success with this than Twitter did. And so, you know, depending on the amount of success that this has, we may see a greater shift earlier or later in other media platforms. So I guess, really their success is all dependent on the consumers. If we don't want this model to move forward, we just all need to make sure that we don't pay for it.
Yeah.
And then they won't move forward with it.
Yeah. They'll realize, well, that's kind of a loss. It's kind of a waste.
So yeah, I guess we'll see if as a society what we can do in that respect to try and remedy the problem. Yes. Exactly. With our Bane mask, bringing the power back to the people.
That's right.
Speaking of power to the people, looks like TikTok's ban in the US could have some interesting implications as we go about it. Want to break this one down for us too, Ben?
Yeah, so TikTok obviously in the past few years has been causing a lot of waves in the United States. Consumers are all over it. I myself am a consumer and a contributor to content on TikTok. And I have to say, I think I like TikTok the most out of all the social media platforms, but that's besides the point. Essentially, the president and the committee here of foreign investment in the U.S. They requested that TikTok that the Chinese owners divest any kind of investment in U.S. TikTok. So if you don't understand, U.S. there's Chinese TikTok and U.S. TikTok. It's called something else in China. I can't remember what it is, but the U.S. owned TikTok is partially owned, I think, by Oracle, and then it's also owned by this ByteDance, Beijing-based ByteDance. The U.S. government's asking ByteDance to divest, get rid of all of their investments in the U.S.-based TikTok, and they're saying mainly because it's a national security issue, and because they're worried that TikTok's collecting the data, which Ethan and I mentioned earlier, collecting data, using it potentially in malicious manner against the U.S. But it's caused a lot of hype. This is also, coming from the U.S. government days before I think the Chinese commissioner comes to the U.S. and talks with the president. It's something along those lines.
Yeah.
But they're dropping it at a very strategic time. Here we go. Thank you. They're dropping it, a few days before the CEO Xiaozi Chu is set to testify before the House Energy and the Commerce Committee later this month. So they're putting a lot of pressure on them, essentially. Now,
Yeah.
there's feedback from TikTok's spokesperson here that says, hey, you guys are worried about data. Us divesting our interest in TikTok isn't really the best way to mitigate data collection and this national security issue around data. The spokesperson mentioned that the best way to do that is monitoring through third-party apps and having very strict laws about US data collection and things like that,
Mhm.
which they're already doing, supposedly. That's what they say. I have no idea. I'm not saying they aren't. I'm not saying they are. They say they are. We'll take it for face value, whatever. So that's the current situation. How, in your opinion, Ethan, how strong of a case does the U.S. have? And if whether or not they have a strong case, do you think they'll actually ban TikTok?
Ooh. You know, had you have asked me this like a couple, um, like maybe earlier in the year or last year, I would have said yes. But I think now the steps that the US has taken, especially involving Oracle, in that I think they've done a lot to mitigate the problem of um, data, data insecurity. And so I don't think as of right now that um, divesting would be a solution here to the problem that they think of security concerns. I mean, obviously, with any social media, that I believe that there are security concerns. However, I think there have been significant steps to mitigate those in such a way that it isn't a concern. And so I don't think that there is a good enough case for this. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with you. I think um I don't believe the US has a very strong case to really say there's a strong national security issue here. There may be, and maybe I'm just ignorant on this. There may be. I will admit that. But personally, I don't feel that it's that significant. Um, Especially given, the US split ownership that happened, I think in 2020, 2021. And not only that, but I can't I can't help but think that there's pressure from American big tech. They're competitors here. And we've seen it in the past. This is factual evidence that big tech has influenced US government. Like that
Yes.
is factual, right? There's emails that prove it, there's communication that proves it. And so in the past, if there's been big tech influence from American companies on US government, why would there not be the case here with their one of their biggest competitors, if not their biggest competitor?
Right.
So like who's in the bet? Who's winning here if TikTok gets banned? 100% American based big tech, right?
Yes.
Like they're going to be partying so hard if TikTok gets banned in the US. They're
Mhm.
going to be thriving. And so this whole ban TikTok thing, I look at it and I'm like, is it really that much of a national security issue to ban it? I think it's smoke and mirrors, and it's just a lot of complaints from either both U.S. government and from American big tech. Personally,
Yeah. That is a really good point that I didn't think of, the influence that big tech has on this. Do you think with like this news, do you think popularity for TikTok is going to change in the US? Um, like regardless of whether it gets banned, do you think popularity is going to change? Is it going to get better or worse?
um, I think it's growing. I only think TikTok is growing, and the reason why I say that is because from my consumption of social media platforms, and I'm one person, I'm like, to really have like a really good basis, you need a sample size across multiple samples, and that would be
Mhm.
multiple people, whatever, in their experiences. I feel like TikTok is a lot more genuine and relatable. And I feel
Yes.
like social media like Instagram and Twitter, I can't really speak to Twitter, but TikTok's main competitor, I'd say, is Instagram, right? They're
Yeah.
1-to-1 on what they're trying to do. Instagram copies every feature of TikTok because it's trying to compete. And so I'll compare those two. TikTok is a lot more relatable. It's a lot more genuine. It's a lot more transparent. People there are just a lot more open with what they share. And information, news spreading, all that stuff is all on TikTok on both sides of the political spectrum and religious spectrum, or whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
right? It's all there. And so I think a lot of people like that. They just like the transparency. Social media like Instagram, I think a lot of people either distrust it because there's influence from biased leadership, or they see a lot of inconsistency among regulation. Uh, and I just think it's all trends and, you know, hyped up lifestyles. Like, look at
Yeah.
me, I'm in Switzerland and I'm phenomenal. Like,
Right.
that's what it looks like. When I open my Instagram, I just get flooded with like videos and pictures of people doing phenomenal things. And when I open up my TikTok, I can find any kind of piece of information I want. I get information about Amazon hacks to DIY things to uh, Japan travel tips to conspiracy theories, right?
Yes.
Like, and I get all the funny Vine videos that I used to love, like,
Right.
so to answer your question, you know, TLDR version, TikTok's more genuine, Instagram's not. And therefore I think TikTok's just going to continue to grow and people are going to
Yeah.
continue to go there.
I would agree with that. I think with this, it's kind of good marketing for TikTok, and now people that aren't users are going to become more curious about it and probably start accounts and get into it. So I do agree with you. TikTok is, I think, is more genuine usually with like reels with Instagram. I just get garbage that I'm not even interested in and that's not even related to anything that I've ever watched before. So
Yeah.
I, you
Yeah.
know,
100%.
with
Yep.
TikTok, at least I can curate stuff that I'm actually genuinely interested in and stuff that I actually want to learn about.
Yeah.
So
100%. And the type of content is different, right? I feel like on
yeah.
TikTok, it's actually people talking to the camera saying like, this is my real life story. This is how I do things. This is me. This is my life. Whereas Instagram, it's a lot of fluff. It's a lot of hype. It's a lot of
Mm.
gimmicky stuff. That's what I feel like.
Yeah.
I saw someone list out. They had they were just listing out their feed on Instagram, and I think it was 20 different reels that they were scrolled through, and it was like 60 to 70% was advertisement,
Yes.
and it was only like maybe 2 or 3 were people that they actually followed, and everything else was either like a suggested or advertisement, but the majority was advertisement. It's like,
Hmm.
dude, what is happening here? I do not go on this app to get advertised to.
Yeah. Just garbage.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think popularity is going to grow. It'll be interesting to see, how this shakes out in the next couple of days. So we'll definitely keep everybody apprised of the situation as
Ooh,
we learn more.
apprised. Word of the day
Word of the day.
coming from your local lawyer,
Yeah.
Ethan Anthony.
Speaking of apprised and some new things coming out, looks like Tesla just revealed their newest supercharger, their version 4, which is slated to be at least twice as powerful as before. So the Tesla Supercharger V4 has been revealed, and they're finally starting to get a little bit more information of the specs of the V4 supercharger. Um, Right now, we do have V3 superchargers out there. They are currently capped at 250 kilowatts per hour of energy that is pushed into the battery. With this, it looks like V4 is going to have allegedly 600 watts of power 600 kilowatts of power that can be pushed into the car. So meaning that would significantly reduce the time that it takes to charge your vehicle, assuming that your Tesla can accept this amount of power at such a small amount of time. So with this, I think it brings the opportunity for a greater adoption of electric vehicles and getting that time to charge on a road trip smaller so that it gives people less anxiety when it comes to charging. What are your thoughts about what implications this has on the future of electric vehicles?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest complaints among people who don't want to go with EVs is there's not enough places to charge and it takes too long to charge. I can go to any gas station, there's 5 within a mile of me, and I can fill up in 5 minutes, right? As soon as EVs get to a spot where the infrastructure is as popular, which I think that'll take the longest. But if the technology can push out the electricity to the point where you get 80% charge in 2 to 5 minutes, like pump of a gas, it's gonna be really hard for people to say, no, it's not worth it, you know. And Tesla is paving the way here once again. This is pretty incredible, honestly. Well, you and I, we've talked about in the past about how charging, we've both seen or experienced charging taking a long time. I've seen it. I've seen friends have issues with it. And I've seen it firsthand with people. Like when I'm traveling, I look at the charging stations and there's lines. And so this will obviously make the actual consumer a lot happier, but it also make people start to think, man, if trend continues on like this, maybe charging my vehicle isn't actually as bad as I thought it would be. Do you think there's risk here with the stronger do you think there's any risk here with either the battery or with the actual person being next to something that's pumping out such high electrical voltage?
I do think there's significant risk to battery technology. Because I mean, obviously, the faster and more energy that you put into a battery, the faster the battery is going to degrade. The faster it can to overheat and potentially cause damage to not only the battery but the surrounding area of the battery. And so, you know, that's really why. I mean, obviously, with a battery, you could give it as much energy as you want, but that's really why a lot of batteries don't accept high amounts of power input, is because of preserving battery and preserving its molecular stability.
Yeah.
And so with this, you know, I would assume that Tesla would have thought of that and that they would have designed their batteries in such a way that they can accept this amount of power in a short amount of time that would be safe for consumers. So, I mean, that's really the risk. I mean, the faster you have energy coming into it, the higher risk you have of battery degradation, and also potential fire hazards with the battery itself because of all the heat and all of that energy coming into it.
Yeah. We're looking at you, Ford. F-150 Lightning freaking blowing up on fire.
Yes.
Do not hook up a Ford F-150 Lightning to one of these V4 Tesla chargers. Fires will start.
Fires will start. Oh, geez. And yeah, I think like I believe this is the step in the right direction. I mean, we need to get electric vehicles need to get to a point where they are just as convenient as a combustion engine. And, you know, while I think there are a lot of conveniences with electric vehicles, they are different conveniences when it comes to a combustion engine. So when those start to become closer and in such a way that they are equal trade-offs, I think there will be a greater adoption of EVs. And, like you said, the infrastructure needs to be there. Essentially, for every gas station, there needs to be a Tesla supercharger at one of those gas stations.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the point where EVs on the road is getting very close to the amount of gas. Well, maybe not very close, but it is so much more common where I see EVs. Yeah, so because of that, I do think the infrastructure just needs to rapidly increase. I have an interesting question for you. This is related to EVs, but I wanted to ask it because I was thinking about it and I heard a few different videos about it. So currently in Europe, right, we have somewhat of an energy crisis, natural gas energy crisis. And you and I have talked about how Europe is trying to eliminate all combustion engine vehicles by 2035. Is that
Yeah.
right? So do you think because of this natural gas energy crisis, it will expedite this goal and electric infrastructure will increase and therefore so will the demand for EVs?
Ooh. I think the demand for EVs is going to increase. However, I think the demand for EVs is increasing at a faster rate than the infrastructure is building up to it.
I agree.
So, I mean, we can see a lot of that, how it's happening here in the United States, and especially with California, for instance, because I mean, I would say they are the leading state in EV adoption. Mostly because Tesla's based out of California. There's just a lot of presence of Tesla there in electric vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen, especially with like last year, their infrastructure was not able to handle the amount of electric vehicles charging at night.
Yeah.
With that. And so,
Blackouts.
yeah, there were blackouts everywhere. And essentially they were saying, don't charge your EV, which, if you can't charge your EV, how are you supposed to drive anywhere?
Don't buy gas cars, but don't charge your EV. Ride a bike.
Yeah. But not an electric bike.
Nor a gas one.
Yes.
Use your feet.
Use your feet.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. So that's kind of my opinion. I think, I think there is going to be a greater demand for EVs and a greater adoption of EVs. I just don't think that the infrastructure is going to be able to catch up. And it seems like the strategic plan for the infrastructure isn't seeing this demand for EVs yet in such a way that they are acting upon that. And that might just be my ignorance. Maybe they do see that and they just don't have the technology to a point where they can scale production for this infrastructure yet.
Yeah, I actually I don't think you're being ignorant about it. I don't think that the leaders who are pushing for EV adoption and consumers to buy electric vehicles, I don't think they're being let me rephrase this. I don't think they're putting as much effort in the strategic infrastructure build out as they are of let's just get EVs on the road. They're pushing so much and putting so many calories on how they can build more EVs, create better technology for the EVs and better charging for the EVs. But it's like, we just need more infrastructure to support the EVs in general. What's your strategy around that? And I don't ever hear of it. I don't ever see it. I don't feel as though they're trying to be as public or put as much of strategic effort into it as they are in just the basic, or not basic, but the foundation of let's get people on EVs.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what needs to change for that to happen. I hope it's not in an energy crisis where there's just significant blackouts countrywide, and then there's a oh crap, we should have thought about infrastructure.
Right.
I
Yeah.
hope that's not what changes their mind.
Yeah.
You know?
I hope it doesn't get to that point either. I mean, with all these EV auto manufacturing companies, they don't have an incentive or care about what the infrastructure is like. I mean, really, their goal is just to get as many EVs out there as possible. And I think, here we see Tesla, who's actually, I think they understand this notion that there needs to be an infrastructure and they're willing to invest into building out these chargers for their vehicles as kind of like an amenity. You buy a Tesla, you're able to use that. It's an amenity to your vehicle. However, they're just one company, and it's going to require more than just one company to help build out the infrastructure for EVs.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't think there's any kind of strategic or intelligent planning behind the infrastructure, which if anything's going to be the downfall of EVs, it'll be that.
Yeah. Which would be sad because I really love the technology behind EVs. I love the ability to have instant torque all the time and love the ability to always have a full battery every night or when I wake up. Just full battery ready to go. So
it is such a letdown when you get in the car and you're like, dude, I'm on empty. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I gotta go. I don't have time to fill up. I gotta go.
Yeah. Because otherwise, then you got to go to Costco. You got to sit in that long line of people getting Costco gas.
Yep. That's right. Tesla charging and Costco gas, they're like brothers.
Yes. So essentially, there just needs to be a greater infrastructure of Costco gasoline.
Yes, I agree. That would be an awesome combination.
Yes.
Costco partners with Tesla to create Costco gas and Tesla charging.
Yes. That'd be nice. Charge your Tesla while you shop around Costco.
Smart move.
Yes. Especially because there's food there. So, if you didn't need to shop, you could always get some food.
Yep.
So
definitely.
I like it. Maybe we should work that deal. Broker that deal, Ben.
All right. I'll call up my Costco guy. You call up your Tesla guy.
Okay, deal. We'll make it happen. Charge 6% because 3% is for suckers.
That's right.
So, all right. Well, that's what we've got for you tonight. We appreciate everyone's support in listening to our channel and watching our content. If you liked it, please give us a thumbs up. That really helps our channel out. If you disliked it, that other button seems to work all right. Make sure you send it to somebody you dislike. As always, ring-a-ling that ding-a-ling button so you never miss out on any new content as we post it on the channel. Until next time, stay classy and have a great evening.
Peace.